Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for coming out for whatever in the world is going on here. Being willing to take a chance. I really appreciate it. This is a little new. So a friend of mine is writing a book called Character Theology, and he's a brilliant writer, missionary. He was a missionary in the Philippines a long time ago. He's an old guy, he's a little older than me. But he knows orality very, very well. Tom Steffen, he's now professor emeritus from Biola, but he's still writing and studying on this. And so this is one of the latest efforts in looking at not just the character of God, but the characters that are in the Bible. And there's a few of them, like about 3,000. And there's a lot that they can teach us if we take time to look at it. So tonight, we want to try to do that. And I appreciate you guys being willing to step in here and experiment with us. And as Kim said, we're trusting that God's got something going on, because I believe that. Anytime God's Word and God's people come together, good stuff happens. So I want to encourage you, we want to listen to three things tonight. We want to listen to God's Word. I'm going to give you a story here in just a bit. We want to listen to each other, and we want to listen to the Holy Spirit. That, when those three come together, it makes it unique every time. So some stories I've told a lot. You asked earlier, Cliff, is there one story? No. But in trainings, in other settings, I've probably told the story of Zacchaeus, 200, 250 times. Every single time I hear something different. I thought after 15, I'd be done. Okay, maybe 25 now. Well, maybe, but it just continues to change. And going to different countries, it changes again, because cultures speak into the stories. And I have an idea, and so far it's proven true. I don't think that God made the Bible just for North America. Yeah. And if it's for everybody, it should work for everybody. Does that make sense?
Sure does.
Yeah. And so we just shift over one continent, everything is different. Culture is different, worldview is different, and it becomes alive again. I'm getting chills right now. Yeah, because I hear things that I just would never ever think about being North American. So that's what we're going to do. And God's going to get the credit. So let me tell you a story. You may be familiar with it. Don't want you to read it. Don't look it up, all that kind of stuff. But listen carefully. As I mentioned before, we're not going to repeat it to each other, but I'm going to tell you, then we're going to watch it for a little bit of visual cues. We'll practice it some as a group to make sure we kind of got it all, and then we're just going to talk and explore and see what we get out of it, okay? Here's our story. The Lord sent a message to Jonah, son of Amittai, and he told him, "Get up and go to the great city of Nineveh and announce my judgment against it, because I have seen how wicked its people are." Well, Jonah got up and went in the opposite direction to run away from the Lord. He went down to the port city of Joppa, where he found a ship heading for Tarshish, Spain. He bought a ticket and he went on board, hoping he could escape from the Lord. But the Lord hurled a powerful wind against the sea, and the storm became so violent that it threatened to break up the ship. The fearful sailors were desperately pleading to their gods to save them, and they threw the cargo overboard to lighten the ship. All this time, Jonah was asleep down in the hold. The captain went and found him and shouted at him, "How can you sleep at a time like this? Get up, call on your God. Maybe he'll have pity on us and will save us." Well, the sailors also then cast lots to see who was responsible, which one of the gods had been offended and sent this terrible storm. And the lots landed on Jonah. So they asked him, "What have you done to cause this terrible storm? Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Who are your people?" And he said, "I am a Hebrew. I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the land and the sea." The sailors were terrified because he had already told them he was running away from the Lord. And he said, "Why have you done this?" And they said, "What should we do to make this, what should we do to you to make this terrible storm stop?" He said, pick me up and throw me into the sea, and then everything will be calm. Because I know this terrible storm is my fault. They didn't want to do that, so they tried all the more to row to the shore, but the storm prevented them from doing that. Then the sailors prayed to the Lord Jonah's God and said, Lord, please don't let us die for this man's sin. And don't hold us accountable for his death. You've sent this storm against him for your own good reasons. Then they picked him up and threw him into the sea. And the storm calmed at once. The sailors were amazed at the Lord's great power. And they offered him a sacrifice, and they made vows to serve him. Now the Lord had arranged for a great fish to come and swallow Jonah. And Jonah was in the belly of that fish for 3 days and 3 nights. Then Jonah prayed from inside the fish. And he said, I called to the Lord in my great distress, and he heard me. I called to you from the land of the dead, and Lord, you answered me. You threw me into the water, and I went into the heart of the sea. Lord, the raging waters covered me, and the crashing waves engulfed me. Lord, you have driven me from your presence, but I will remember you in your holy temple. I went into the water. The water covered me over. Seaweed wrapped itself around my head. I went down to the base of the mountains. I was imprisoned in the earth, which locks its gates forever. But Lord, you snatched me from the jaws of death. As my life was slipping away, I remembered you in your holy temple. Now, those who worship idols turn their backs on all God's mercies. But I will offer you a sacrifice of praise with songs of thanksgiving. And I will fulfill all my vows because I know that my salvation only comes from you. Then the Lord commanded the fish to spit him out onto the beach. Then the Lord said to Jonah a second time, as he spoke to him, he says, get up and go to Nineveh and give them the message that I have given you. This time, Jonah went to the great city of Nineveh, which is so big it takes 3 days to see it all. On the day Jonah entered Nineveh, he shouted to the crowds, 40 more days and Nineveh will be destroyed. But all the people, from the greatest to the least, believed God's message. And they fasted and they put on garments of mourning. When the king heard Jonah's message, he came down off of his throne, took off his royal garments, put on burlap, and sat in a heap of ashes. Then he and all the elders, the nobles, issued a decree to everyone that no one, not even the animals and their herds and flocks, should eat or drink, that they should stop doing evil and turn away from all their wickedness, and they should pray to God. Who can tell, he said, that God might relent and not send the destruction he has promised. When God saw what they did and how they stopped doing evil and turned from their wickedness, he did change his mind and did not send the destruction. This change of plans really upset Jonah, and he was angry, and he let God know it. He told him, this is what I said before I left home. I knew that you were merciful and compassionate and long-suffering, and that you're just faithful to give people another chance, and you're eager to relent from sending destruction. Just kill me now, Lord, if what I said was going to happen is not going to happen. I'd rather die. And God said, is it right for you to be angry about this? And Jonah went off to the east of the city, and he set up a shelter there so that he could sit and watch and see what would happen to the city. And God caused a leafy vine to grow up over the shelter, and its broad leaves unfurled and gave him shade. And Jonah was very happy about the plant. But God also provided a worm. At dawn the next morning, the worm ate through the stem of the vine so that it shriveled and dried up. And as the heat rose, God sent a scorching east wind that beat down upon Jonah, and he became faint and wished he could die. He said, dying would be better than living like this. And God said, do you have a right to be angry about the plant? Yes, I'm angry enough to die. And God said, you did nothing to bring the plant. It came quickly and it died quickly. But Nineveh has more than 120,000 people in spiritual darkness, not to count all the animals. Shouldn't I be concerned about such a great city? And that's the end of our story. See, short little story. You can repeat that now, right? Yeah. There was a guy, there was a boat, there was water, there was... Well, you don't have to repeat it. I'm going to spin this around and get it started. It's a little small, but I hope that you can watch what you can. Well, let's launch into this. First, let's start with this. Who are the characters in this story? Who can you identify?
Jonah.
Jonah, for sure.
Sailors.
Sailors.
The captain of the ship.
The captain.
The whale.
The whale. Yeah.
King.
Who?
King.
The king. Yep.
The people of Nineveh.
The people.
God.
God. Oh, he's in the story. Yep. Anybody else?
The worm.
I love the worm. I love the worm. He's a character in the story. I love him. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Anything else? Anybody else? Unless I said anything else.
The wind.
Wind. Okay.
East wind.
Okay.
The waves.
The waves. Right at the end, he said something about the other inhabitants of the city. Animals. Yeah. Interesting that he said that. We'll get into that. So lots of characters. We do want to kind of focus on Jonah, but as you have thoughts about any of the others, it's totally fine. So while most of my questions may follow Jonah, as you think about the others, because there could be some good times to contrast them and see what's going on. So feel free. So let's start at the beginning of this story. What's the first action? What's God tell him?
God says, go to Nineveh.
Go to Nineveh. Why?
All the people. I'm going to destroy them for their wickedness.
Yeah. Go tell these folks I'm about to wipe them out because they are so stinking wicked. Yeah. And let's add just a tiny bit of background. Nineveh was. Not only that, they had defeated Israel. And so they were the world power at the time, and they had wreaked havoc basically everywhere. So Jonah probably didn't have a great feeling about them. That's the message he's given. And then, what did he do?
The other way.
Okay.
Out of his way.
Yeah. Oh, out of his way. Tell me more about that, Mark.
Oh, when you saw the map, I didn't realize that before I saw the map. I was thinking, okay, Nineveh would have been a short little thing, and he went way over here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That's why we added that, because it wasn't that far. It was a ways, but comparatively, Nineveh wasn't that far away, and it was in that direction, and he went. It says he went down to the port city of Joppa, and he got a ticket on a boat going about as far as he could go. So he went out of his way. I like that. What do you think about Jonah right there? Before anything else has happened, he got a message from who?
From God.
From God. and he bails. What do you think about him now? His character. What is it?
It was disappointing.
Very disappointing.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was supposed to be a follower of the Lord, and he was asked to do something. And I wonder why he didn't do it.
Ah,
It's
that's a good question. Lena, what are you thinking?
Scared.
Scared, maybe? Okay. Okay.
Almost seem like him, like us. How
Okay.
many times God tells us to do something and we just don't?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm surprised he didn't fear God, though, enough, about the consequences. Potential those consequences.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you just said he might be scared, but you bring up the fear of God. Apparently, wow. Which one is stronger here?
At that moment, it wasn't God.
Yeah.
Wow. So it could be, maybe should be a fear of God, but something else is, interesting. Wow. Okay. He gets to the port. He finds a ship going as far as it can. Gets on board. Why? What did it say? Do you remember what it said? He was hoping to escape. Yeah, thanks, Anthony. He was hoping to escape from the Lord.
That's funny.
Yeah. A little bit later, so if we jump ahead, you guys have already identified it, but a little bit later, when he talks to the sailors, how does he describe God? I'm a Hebrew, I worship the Lord, God of heaven, who made
The land and the sea.
the land and the sea. So where's he going to go?
Out to sea. Good luck.
Either way, he's gonna be.
Either way, he's
Yeah. It's nowhere to run.
it's not
Yeah.
annoying.
But he thinks he can do it.
Yeah.
Wow. So what is that? Give me some words to describe that.
Selfish.
Selfish,
Arrogant.
arrogant. Ooh, wow.
Was
Make
he
his own path.
Prideful.
Right.
Prideful,
Was he testing?
testing,
Rebellious.
rebellious. Okay.
Like a child.
Wow. 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 There's a lot of things going on there. So he gets his ticket, he goes on board, they get going, terrible storm comes, and the sailors, what are they doing up on the deck?
Being tossed around.
Being tossed around. Remember some of the words that describe them?
Fearful.
Fearful, yes, Lena. They were fearful, and what were they doing? They were, yeah, desperately crying out to who? Their gods. Plural. Yeah, desperately crying out to their gods. To do what?
To calm the sea.
Yeah, calm the sea. Save them. Yeah. What's Jonah doing?
I don't know how. I'm seasick.
Does anybody know? I don't know if we have an idea in this group. Does anybody know, like, how can a person do that?
Do what?
Sleep.
Sleep in the midst of
He knew
all.
the God he had.
Because what?
He knew the God he had.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Sometimes the rocking motion of the boat kind of lulls you to sleep.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have friends that are commercial fishermen. They love to sleep out on the water. They don't sleep as well at home, but out on the water, gone. Wonder if there might be something else going on with him that he could sleep through that much rocking around.
He thought he had it made.
Oh, okay. Thought he had it made.
He had beat God at his own
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Maybe he thought that God still needed him. So like maybe he always felt like a sense of calm around him because he knew that God wasn't finished with him.
Wow. Wow, wow.
Yeah, that's most what I think too. Like he knew the God he had. So if God wanted to protect him, whatever was going through it was fine.
Wow. My goodness. So that arrogance and pride that you guys said earlier, you just put it in different words that I didn't even think of. It's like, oh my goodness. That's kind of really up there. I'm good. Whatever happens, I'm good. Wow. Wow. What happened next? Who comes to find him?
Captain.
The captain. And how does he wake him? Excuse me. No.
What are you doing sleeping?
Yeah. He yells at him. He's shouting at him. How can you sleep at a time like this? What's he ask him to do?
Pray to you, God.
Yeah. Pray to your God. Captain knows the other guys are up there. What are they doing? Praying to their God. So get up. Pray to your God.
What they're doing is not doing any good.
Bingo. Yeah. They're doing it. It's not doing any good. Oh, and what else had they done already?
Casted lots.
Took the cargo.
Cargo.
They pitched the cargo. Okay, so why do ships go from one port to another?
To carry cargo.
To carry cargo. And at this point, no cargo. Desperate. Yeah. They're that desperate. There's no cargo left. So obviously, got a bunch of heavy stuff. You throw it out. Your ship comes up higher, less chance of getting swamped. But what kind of storm is this?
Ferocious.
Ferocious. Who sent it?
God.
God did. Yeah.
The perfect storm.
The perfect storm. Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? Man, oh man. So he asked him to call on his God, because as you just said, Mark, they're calling on theirs. It's not working. And then they cast lots, as Cliff said. They cast lots to find out what?
Who's
Who's responsible?
Yeah.
Who's to blame? Yeah, who's responsible for this? And I thought it was interesting the way they said it, to find out which of the gods was offended. So let's talk about that for just a moment. You guys help me figure this out. Here's these guys praying to their gods. They want Jonah to pray to his God. But that idea is in there. A god was offended. What's that tell us about their theology, their way of thinking?
They don't believe in one God.
Okay.
Someone did something wrong,
Ah.
and the gods were not happy. So,
They would,
thus the consequence of the storm.
Yeah.
and they would pray to any god to, they would abandon their god to save themselves.
Wow.
You know.
Okay.
That says something.
So multiple gods. Somebody's responsible. But right now, we don't care who. Yeah. Wow.
Somebody needs to own up to it.
Somebody needs to own up to it. Yeah. And I don't know what it looked like, honestly, when they cast lots. I don't know what that was. They had straws there. It might have been dice. I don't know what it was. But it was accurate because it pointed to Jonah.
The only one that wasn't up there.
Yeah.
A little bit of a clue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's getting me more the way you said that and everything. It's just like, this guy's really something. So the only one that wasn't up there praying, that he's the one. So then they pepper him with questions. What did you do to bring this terrible storm on us? Who are you? What's your work? Who are your people? Where are you from? And his answer, as we just said, I'm a Hebrew. I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the land and the sea. And what was their response?
Pray to him
What should we
and
do?
save us.
Yeah,
What should we do?
yeah. What should we do to you to stop this terrible storm? And in the midst, they complain, why did you do it? And they were terrified because he had already told them he was running from the Lord. I don't know when that happened exactly. Bought the ticket. Oh, good. Thank you. I'm running from the Lord. This is my salvation. I don't know what that looked like, but he had told them that. So now they're, as they were terrified. There's a storm that's threatening to break the ship apart, but now they're terrified,
Afraid to die.
afraid of God. I hadn't thought about this. Help me unpack this, guys. This storm is threatening to kill them, but now that they find out who it is, they're terrified. What's going on there?
since they knew he was running away from the Lord,
Okay.
they were like, oh no, God's actually punishing this guy.
Ah.
And we're just here with him.
They're all in the same boat.
Yeah, they
Ah.
are.
More ways than one.
Yeah. Wow.
I would venture to say that they were well aware of the history of that God of the Hebrews,
Hmm.
and that probably was on their mind.
Wow. I hadn't thought about that. Thanks, Cliff. They may well have heard the stories and been aware of who this guy is. This God. But yeah, he's running. They're all in the same boat. This is serious. Sometimes I think it's good if we just pause and we catch those kind of things. Terrible storm where they think they're going to die. They find out who caused it, and then they're terrified. Wow. And a fascinating question, what do we need to do to you to stop this storm? What did Jonah tell him? Throw me over. Did he volunteer?
Yeah,
So,
seems so.
Did he?
I mean, he didn't really. He said, throw me over. He didn't jump.
Yeah. Could he have?
That was sacrifice. He could have jumped.
Yeah. I mean, he could have said, I got this.
Right?
I'll take care of it. He says, you throw me over and the sea will become calm. I know this terrible storm is my fault. So how costly has this been so far? This perfect storm? All the cargo's gone. Whatever that value was, had to be a lot for such a long, long trip. What else? What'd Jonah do? In the very beginning, he found the ship going there, and he had to pay. So he was willing to do that. Other passengers, maybe, we think? Okay.
They lost their faith in their gods.
Yeah. So, pretty expensive. Do we see anything with Jonah concerned about that? No. Okay, so let's take some time. Let's do some more descriptions. Describe Jonah to me now, at this point, that he's been found out, and he has told them what it'll take to fix it. What words would you use to describe him?
willing to compromise.
Okay.
Tell a lie. Stop the
Oh,
storm.
okay.
I just have to say that since he didn't just jump overboard knowing that it would stop, I'm not really, I think he thought he had better odds with God. Throw me overboard, right? Because I know God's going to save me, right? Because I'm supposed to do this thing for him. Because if I stay on this ship, what these men might do to me. I mean, think about all the money they lost. How are they going to recoup that? They got to pay it back somehow. So I'm thinking, yeah, maybe just a little selfish. Throw me overboard because I have better odds with God than I do with all of you on the ship right now.
And they were obviously going the wrong direction, too. So
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that. I hadn't had either one of these thoughts. So the odds of me versus God, or me versus all these guys that are angry and terrified, and they're trying to get back towards shore. The wrong way from where Jonah wants to go. What's that?
Supposed to go.
Yeah, the way he's supposed to go. Yeah. Wow. What else? Give me some more words.
I almost think he wanted to die. I don't know. Like he really didn't want to do what God
Wants to
asked him.
die. Oh.
And he was like, I'm trying to still run from it. So if
Okay.
you throw me there, the odds of me surviving is very stop.
Yeah,
I'm probably not going to survive here.
that makes
I'm
sense.
not going to fulfill what God. And that's
Okay.
my purpose, right? By going in a different direction. It's like not doing what
Yeah,
God asked me.
that's good, Priscilla. I think, reminder to all of us, when you know the whole story, sometimes we forget. in these moments. Does that make sense to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
The storm's still happening. The boat's still rocking all over the place. Cargo's gone, everything else. People are still frightened, terrified. What's he think his chances are out there? If he
I think
thinks,
his chances are better with God than with the sailors.
yeah,
I don't know. He seems to be a real risk taker.
okay,
Because he can't possibly know for sure what's going to happen, but he
Yeah.
must have felt pretty confident at the point that he said, "Throw me overboard," that they wouldn't. I would think. I don't know.
I don't either.
I keep thinking about why he was running away from what God wanted him to do in the first place. Was he afraid that the people in Nineveh wouldn't accept his message from God?
Mm.
And he didn't want to deal with the people of Nineveh possibly backfiring on him?
Okay, okay,
Well, doesn't it kind of say though that he didn't want them to repent?
yeah,
So I think that was a bigger fear. It was like, well, what if they listened to me and obeyed?
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
which is odd.
yeah, that's true.
And
Yeah.
that's,
Right.
It says why he didn't want to go. He didn't want to go because of that. Because he knew the God he had. And then God was going to forgive them if they received the message. And they're like, I don't want God to forgive them because they're wicked.
Yeah,
So it's, which is weird. Which
Wow.
we all are. So,
I think
selfish.
maybe it might be getting in our way a little bit since we know he survives. That thought of, this could be a way I could get away. If I die, I don't have to go. I think that might have some merit. He didn't want to go. He knew those things about God. Interesting. Interesting. So, the sailors, they throw him in right away?
No.
No. What'd they try to do? They tried to row. They didn't make it. So before they threw him in, what did they do?
They tried.
They tried, they cried out to God. To which one? Jonah's God. I love that.
Yeah.
It says, then they prayed to the Lord Jonah's God. Who were they praying to a little while ago? All their gods. They switched. Tell me about that.
I would say that this is what our God does. He takes
Wow.
those things that are designed for evil or, not his way and turns them towards good.
Wow.
That's like a classic example.
Yeah. Wow. I like that.
I think it's also an example of us in the fact that we always try to renegotiate with God. Let's do plan B instead.
Huh.
I think it goes with what Anthony said, like they tried their gods. It didn't work.
Mm.
And that's what we do. We tried several
Mhm.
different things and then it was like, all that's left is God.
Mm.
That's all you needed in the first
Mm.
place. But he tried all the other gods. They tried all the other gods,
Mhm.
right? And I was like, okay, this is their God that we haven't tried yet.
Yeah.
Let's try
Wow. Wow.
this
And now,
one.
and now they're witnesses.
Wow. Oh man.
Spreading kingdom.
Wow. Oh man, we have to get back to that. Interesting. So they prayed to the Lord Jonah's God, and there's a couple of parts to that. First, they say, "Don't let us die for this man's what? Sin." Yeah. That kind of surprised me. How about anybody else? I mean, don't let us die for this man's sin. What's that say that they know or believe?
And they believe in mercy.
Okay,
God is capable of mercy.
okay. That he could show mercy to them. Okay,
Obedience and disobedience.
okay, okay. Wow. And there's a name for it. Sin. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Did he want to be punished?
Yeah.
Someone else.
Okay. They didn't want to be punished for that. And it shows up again in their next statement. And don't hold us accountable for his
Yeah.
death. So so I'm still learning what you said a little while ago, that it could be he was thinking if he went into the water, what do they think is going to happen if he goes into the water?
He's
He's going to die. He's going to drown. Let's check something. This is kind of fun because I haven't planned on this. Who are they? The they that we're talking about?
Slaves?
Sailors.
Okay.
Yeah. Professionals?
Yeah.
Yep. I'd say so. Professional sailors, and their opinion is what's going to happen with this guy? He's going to drown. He's going to die. I think I'd probably go with their opinion. They've probably seen it before. They've seen storms, I'm sure, and they're thinking, this is it. Because they ask God, man, I love this. I hadn't thought about it. They ask God, don't hold us accountable for his death.
And then,
And they said one more thing. What was the last part? You have sent this storm against him for your own good reasons. How's that strike you? What do you think of when you hear that? They're praying that to God. You sent this storm against him for your own good reasons.
there's a purpose.
Okay? There is a purpose. Yeah, this is a thinker a little bit.
So are they recognizing that God is good?
Mm.
At that point?
Okay. Okay. He's got a good reason, a good purpose. We've heard the whole story. What would that be?
The reason?
Yeah.
He didn't do what, Jonah didn't do what God wanted him to do.
Okay.
Opposite direction.
All right. And is there a good at the other potential end of it?
Save the whole city. Yeah.
Okay. To save a whole city? Wow, wow, wow. See, I've done this story before. We didn't discuss it this way. I like it. And then they pitch him in. And I love what it says. God arranged for a great fish or a whale. He arranged for that. Got him there, right place, right time. God can speak whale, apparently. Not surprising, but yeah. How long is he in there?
3 days and 3 nights.
Okay. I'm assuming, this could be bad, I'm assuming none of us have been inside a fish. No? Anybody? Okay. Have you had your hands inside a fish? Some?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. What's it like?
Gross.
Nasty.
It's gross. It's messy.
Yeah.
Give me some more words.
Slimy.
Slimy. Yep. I was looking for that. Smelly. Yep. You suppose all that applies on the inside of the belly?
I don't think so.
Of course. It applies all the way around the outside of it, so sure. Okay, so I know we can't really do this, but think for a moment. If you happen to be Jonah in that moment, and you find yourself inside a great fish, how soon do you think you'd want out? Right now, right now? How long is he in there?
3 days, 3 nights.
What is going on?
Reflection time for Jonah.
Ah. Okay, I'm with you guys. I'd want out kind of like right now. I'd be freaking out and be like, where am I? I'm not dead yet, but I don't like this. And it took, what is that, 72 hours? Something like that? What do you do during 72 hours?
Really not much to do in that fish but pray.
Okay,
Probably cover a lot of ground in there.
okay,
Ask for forgiveness.
He
okay.
had to be afraid. I mean, he had to be concerned. He didn't
Yeah.
know he was going to let him out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did
again,
he really know where he was?
I don't know.
It's dark. It's dark in there.
Yeah.
So
And if you think he was like trying to die in the waves, and then suddenly he's somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know.
Think about that, all of that. He describes the waves how? They were crashing, raging sea, all of this stuff. At one point, he says seaweed wrapped around his head. He sank, yeah, clear to the base of the mountains. And something happened. Where am I? That's a fair question. So you're saying there's a lot of time to pray. Can y'all examine that with me for a moment? You think he prayed right away?
probably not. Try to one, figure out where he is. Two, how do I get out of here?
Ah, tell me more about that.
Just where's the door?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of moving around, falling down, freaking out. Probably a lot of crying.
He was rather defiant, though. He didn't seem to like do things quickly, as far as succumbing to his fears.
Right,
and
right.
Respect of the Lord, actually.
Yeah.
I agree with that. It's like I remember he talked to the Lord and was thankful for providing that, but I don't know that I ever heard him repent.
No.
You know, the pride or whatever was still there.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
The word arrogant, actually.
That's
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted to do it his way.
So, can you remind us of some of the words you guys have used already, which are so good? That pride, the arrogance, the disobedience, defiant. Does that sound like a prayerful person?
No.
Doesn't to me either.
And it might have taken him longer if he didn't do it, to find the actual prayer that he did. It's like a time of, you are isolated. I'm gonna take you out of there, but you gotta rely on me now. But it's just probably take 3 days and 3 nights, because that's how long it took for him to get there.
Yeah. And did he even know that?
No.
No. So like you said, he's not even sure where he is. Probably looking for a door. Do whales just sit in the water?
No.
No.
It would have been dark too.
Would have been dark. No candle. And that thing's moving. So what's going on?
He's out of balance.
Out of balance.
Yeah.
And okay, wow. That could be a lot of things there. Out of balance, and your word, Priscilla, was isolated. And defiant, and all those stuff, and disobedient. So all of that's going on. So I think you're right. I don't think he prayed right away. So if we're right, and I think we're on the right track, when do you suppose he prayed finally?
That last day.
That third night.
The third night. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and he really only changed his mind about going, but he still had the same attitude about them seeking God. Nothing
Yeah.
but it's saved.
Wow. Okay, so let's jump to that because that is huge. Let's back up for just a minute. Let me remind you of some of the things that he said in his prayer. At first he prayed, he kind of goes through it twice. So at first he prayed about God, then he prayed to God. The first line he just said, I prayed to the Lord in my great distress and he heard me. I prayed to you from the land of the dead and you answered me. So he switched from, second person to third person, made it personal. But then he said, who threw him in? In his prayer. Do you remember? He said, you threw me into the water, and I sunk to the heart of the sea. So, what is that?
Blame.
Was he blaming God?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you guys got it in stereo there. He sounds like he's blaming God. You threw me into the water. And then just after that, he talks about the raging water and the mighty waves that are covering him. And then he says, who drove who from his presence? That was a long time ago, I know. He says, you drove me from your presence. Yeah. You agree? Disagree? That's what he said, but
Maybe because Jonah thought it was a lose-lose situation. Because if he went to Nineveh and he said, my God will destroy you, but then he knows that his God is merciful, will save him. So then everyone's going to think of him as like a liar. So really God's only going to have to like use him once because no one's going to believe what he says. But then if he doesn't go to Nineveh, he still knows that his God's going to be merciful towards them. But he's going to defy God, but he's not going to be called a liar. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation.
Wow. Wow. Thanks, Anthony.
And I wonder if he, why he chose Jonah. Did he know that Jonah was a work in progress?
Wow.
Did he expect him to do some of these things, and maybe he's trying to help Jonah in some way?
Yeah, fascinating. Wow. Yeah, could there have been other options?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Somebody who wasn't so
Yeah.
stubborn or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what he says. You drove me from your presence. If we were doing true or false, which would you say? True?
False.
False.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very self-centered perspective.
Yeah. Does it sound like repentance?
No.
Yeah, so I'm agreeing with what you said earlier, Cliff. It doesn't sound like repentance. You drove me from your presence, but I will remember you in your holy temple. And then he goes through it again. I went into the sea, the waters covered over me, seaweed wrapped around my head, I sunk all the way down, you snatched me from the jaws of life. As my life was slipping away, I remembered you in your holy temple. So it's still him and God. Then he says something where he switches, and I turned my back when I said it. Those who worship idols turn their backs on all God's mercies. Does that sound like his heart prayer, or what is that?
Almost sounds like a curse.
Yeah. It's kind of an odd thing, isn't it? To be in the midst of that prayer. He says, oh, by the way, those who worship idols turn their backs on all God's mercies. Who was he talking about?
It's kind of weird because he's actually done everyone other than him. Does too much for him.
It's almost like he says that, like, not me though.
Yeah, right? Like he is
Those people that do that, but not me.
But not the hate kind of things.
So far, who has he encountered? Who, he hasn't been to Nineveh yet, so who has he encountered? The sailors. In the beginning, you said they were calling out to other gods, so were they worshiping idols?
Yeah.
Did they turn their backs on God's mercy?
No. No, they didn't.
They didn't.
They didn't.
So, kind of an odd statement. But then he follows up, kind of where you were leading. But I will offer sacrifice of praise with songs of thanksgiving. And I will fulfill all my vows, because I know that my salvation only comes from the Lord. How does that sound to you guys? Earlier you said it doesn't sound like he repented. How does that little bit sound?
A little desperate.
I was like, okay. I'll do it.
Okay.
Like, can't run away again.
Like concession, desperation.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's get over with.
Almost like breaking the spirit of a horse, when he finally puts his own ego aside and says, okay, I know the Lord is the one who will provide me with salvation.
Wow. Breaking the spirit of a horse. Okay.
It's the first time that he actually yields to God's will. The entire time he's completely trying to oppose his will. And there was that little moment. And it might be very self-serving, but he yielded.
Okay.
And he did follow through.
Okay. Wow.
He did it.
Wow. It's fascinating. I love the words, putting them together. Breaking the spirit of a horse. Is this breaking Jonah's spirit so that he will yield? Huh.
How many times do we see that in life?
Wow. Let's just keep this about Jonah. At least for now. Okay. All right. And so after that prayer and those two parts about he'll remember him in his holy temple, what does the Lord do then?
Spits him out. The whale spits him out on the beach.
He talks to the whale again and spits him out on the beach. And then says, go to Nineveh. Yeah. Give him the message I have delivered to you. This time, what's he do? Okay. He goes. You heard me say it. Nineveh was so big, it took 3 days to see it all. On the first day he entered, he was shouting to the crowds. The message was, 40 more days and Nineveh will be destroyed. So you heard my choice for tone of voice. How do you suppose it sounded when he gave that message? By the way, that's the whole sermon, as far as we know. 40 more days and Nineveh will be destroyed.
Yeah.
So convincing.
Very
Nothing positive about that.
Just 2 points.
Nothing positive, short and to the point. What else?
Like he was trying to get like a C+.
Ah, okay.
Right. Right.
Not the best sermon, maybe not the worst, but okay.
So just going through the motions?
Going through the motions, okay.
Yeah.
Why would he do that? I like that. Why would he do that?
Because he didn't want God to save him. Have mercy on him.
It seems like he's just always pushing the limits with the boundaries with God.
Ah,
I don't know. It seems like he's always testing him.
yeah.
See what he can get away with.
He doesn't want God to save him. He's pushing the limits. Wow. Tell me more about this. This is a pretty pivotal moment. Describe more of him, his character. What's maybe going on with him?
Finally becoming an instrument of God's voice by telling Nineveh,
Yeah.
in 40 days, you will be destroyed.
Okay.
Is he
Okay.
going to be destroyed along with them? Is this something that he fears, that when he brings this message, he's going to be destroyed as well?
Is he from Nineveh?
And I don't think
Is he just giving the message and leaving? I don't know.
Almost like, because I know God had already changed his mind before with Jonah. You know the story. Once he prophesied something. So he's like, I'm going to say that. It's not going to happen.
Okay.
It's just
Okay.
like, as a prophet, you don't want to say something
Yeah.
that's not true.
Yeah.
That's not actually going to come.
And he says that shortly in this story.
So he had that experience before. So
Okay.
maybe he's like, God, here we go again. You know, I'm going to say this. It's not going to be what I said. I'm
Yeah.
going to change your mind.
So according to the message, who's going to be destroyed?
the Nineveh people.
The people of Nineveh. And after he delivers it, where does he go?
It's out there.
He gets out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes out east to watch what will happen to the city. So do we think he's concerned about himself being destroyed? No, not now. Already spent 3 days, 3 nights. Which kind of leads to what some of you said earlier. Maybe he knows his chances are better with God than anywhere else. So Interesting. What does he not have? Jonah himself. He's preaching. 120,000 people's lives are at stake, and all the animals. What's he not displaying?
Compassion.
Compassion.
He doesn't think they deserve to live, so.
Mm.
I wonder how loud he was really yelling. Just saying.
Yeah.
How loud were you really yelling?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
was hoping they were going to get, that judgment was going to be delivered.
Okay. So he's not showing compassion. He's hoping the hammer's coming down. What's that? What's inside him that's his hope?
Bitterness.
Bitterness, okay.
Judgment.
Judgment.
Selfishness.
Yeah. Selfishness. Wow. You want to invite him over? Hey, Jonah, come on. Wow. What are you thinking, Mark? You're
Taking
still
it all in.
working on something, yeah. I like that he added, he has delivered God's message. He's been God's mouthpiece here. How could he feel about that?
You could applaud God showing so much grace.
Hmm.
God didn't do it,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't seem to go in that direction.
Hmm.
He's not applauding the grace.
Hmm.
He personalizes it
Yeah,
as to how it reflects on him.
yeah. If that prophecy came true, as he's sitting out there, what would he witness?
The city being destroyed.
Complete the stuff.
What is it?
The city being destroyed.
The city being destroyed. Tell me about that.
That would have been awful. The screaming, the cries of the people, the animals, like that would have been horrific.
Total annihilation.
Yeah.
Total annihilation of how many?
120,000.
Plus animals.
120,000 plus animals. So how big an area is that, like around us, where we're at right now? How far does that extend? Any clues?
Brevard County?
Brevard County? Wow. It's pretty big. And what's Jonah doing?
Watching
Watching
from a distance.
watching for that horrific thing to happen. Whew.
The sad part about it is hoping for it to happen.
Yeah.
That's even more so. Hoping for it to happen. Oh my goodness. I don't want to keep beating this, but especially because you say that. Any other words coming to mind describing this guy who is hoping for this horrific thing to happen?
Judgmental.
Judgmental. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like almost like oblivious to what he has been doing so far.
Ah.
Like they deserve it, but I don't deserve
Is he not
anything.
saying that?
Yeah.
Is he not saying that as a sin?
Exactly, like he's just like doing, not obeying God, and those people are supposedly gonna be destroyed for being wicked. So they are probably disobedient to the Lord. And he's like, they deserve it,
Ah.
but I'm
Wow.
just here, safe and sound.
And yet it just happened to him.
Yeah, and he just
So he just went through this experience. And where's that? Huh. Not there.
There's no gratefulness.
No gratefulness.
Yeah.
A little of, what was that?
Where's the spirit?
Where's the spirit? Okay. a little oblivious to what's going on. No gratefulness. Judgmental. Extremely. How do the people of Nineveh respond?
Real quick to
They turned from their wicked ways.
Yeah.
They repented. So earlier we're saying we're not even sure that Jonah did that, but they did. What did they do to show it?
They humbled
Fasted. Yeah.
Humble themselves? Fasted? What else?
Put sacks on.
Okay, burlap, sacks, yeah, whatever, yeah.
Even the king like took his garment like in a
Humbled
humble,
himself.
humble himself.
Yeah.
Songs of thanksgiving.
King took off his royal robes, yeah, yeah. He sat in a heap of, you remember? Ashes, yeah, yeah. And then they told everybody, do not eat. Not you or your animals.
Okay,
Nobody.
that's what I was-
Not even drink. Yeah. Don't eat. Don't even drink. Nobody is to. And, as you said, Deb, turn from their wicked ways, stop doing evil, and pray. Because what's their attitude? What was the last part about what they said? Do you remember? Who can tell? Maybe he'll change his mind and not send the destruction. So they're doing all of that in case, maybe. Now, just a reminder for ourselves, did they worship God? No. Definitely not. The sailors in the beginning, did they worship God? No. After that encounter, did they worship God? Yes.
They're grateful to be saved.
And grateful for it. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So at this, the heart of Jonah does what? The people respond in a good way. God sees it, how they turned, and changed his mind. And tell me what's going on with Jonah now.
His heart is hardened.
His heart is hardened. What else?
Must have died.
He wants to die. Oh my. How's it?
Betrayed.
He feels betrayed. Oh my goodness.
God for saving them.
I told you so.
Who says that?
To God.
To God. Yeah, I mean, we do that all the time with ourselves. I told you this was going to happen. But to God. Oh my gosh. Okay, give me words to describe that. Jonah, all these things you said is accurate. And he's got whatever to say to God. I told you. I told you so. He wants to die. Give me some more words to describe him. In this moment,
He's angry.
he's angry. Yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
It's almost like he only thinks about himself.
okay.
Like he cannot see, oh, that many people were saved.
Ah.
He's just thinking like, oh, I didn't have how I said it, how I went through all this, and, and he's
Yeah.
just me. Can see like, oh my gosh, God just saved
Yeah.
thousands of people.
Yeah.
He
I
can't
think
get
the-
out of himself.
The really sad part too is that God used him to do that. And instead of being grateful, it was like, why did you do that?
Oh my gosh. Wow. So what a value statement. The difference of 120,000 people and the animals responding, and he's just ticked, thinking about himself. So 120,000 or me? Yeah. Wow. Give me some other words to describe that.
Do you think maybe he was thinking God was not holding anybody accountable for their actions? But
Oh,
always
man.
providing mercy and grace.
Wow. Thanks, Lena. God's not holding them accountable for their actions.
Because he's always providing the mercy and grace to forgive
Mhm.
everybody. And give
Yeah.
them the opportunity to come over to him.
I think it makes sense with that judgmentalism that he's showing, that he can be upset that he's not holding them accountable. Come on. Give them what they're due.
It's almost enabling them
Mm.
Right.
It's almost like the prodigal son.
Oh, man.
You know, it's you're not punishing them for, you know, I've been good.
Uh-huh.
You're not
But
punishing
he really
them.
wasn't.
You know, he wasn't.
He really wasn't good.
Not
And
that
so,
we saw in this much
Right.
of the story.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
That's true. So
God
far, he
punished-
hasn't even.
God punished him,
Mm.
technically,
Mm-hmm.
you know, every time he tried to run away. So, I guess he thought, you know, but God also rescued him every time as well. So, I guess he's can't see both sides.
Okay. Wow.
Maybe he was supposed to stay in the city. Because like you said, he got punished for running away. So maybe he got punished again for running away from the city when he went to the east side.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Scorching wind.
Interesting. Because his purpose in going out there was what, Anthony?
To watch the city.
He wanted to watch it get destroyed.
So what you're saying is maybe God didn't want him to go out and watch the city. So maybe he was afraid that he was going to die. That he,
Well, as Mark said earlier, and that's the next part of our story, he says to God, I knew you were going to do this. That's what I said before I left home. And why? Because God is, what were the things he said? Merciful. What else?
Forgiving.
Forgiving. Compassionate. Yep. And eager to turn back from punishing, from destroying. How do those things sound? Merciful, compassionate, forgiving, faithful, eager to turn back from destroying. I mean, how do they sound?
Sound like fruits to me.
Really good. Good fruit. They sound really good. And he says those things about God, and his feeling about those is what?
Bad.
As if it is unfair.
It's unfair. Wow. Wow. This guy's a trip.
But those are the very qualities that we need to emulate, you know, the faithfulness, the forgiveness, and compassion.
Yeah.
And he is receiving that from God through all the entire
Okay.
situation. You know, he's not getting the message. It's not getting
I wish
Okay.
the story didn't end there. I wish we knew more what happened.
Ah, yeah. We're coming to that. Yeah.
Turn him around.
Putting hope for this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, Jonah. Excuse me.
And we're going to have to discuss that, but not quite yet, almost. So you just said, Priscilla, he's receiving this from God, but he's not getting the message. So tell me more about that. Anybody can jump in on here. He's getting chances, he's getting mercy, he's getting compassion, and what's it doing?
It's not sinking in.
He's not listening.
He's not
his
listening.
Heart's not open to it.
He's blind to it. His heart's not open to it.
Yeah, he's
Ah.
very rigid.
Okay.
Distracted by his own selfishness, yeah.
Okay.
legalistic.
I still feel he's testing. I feel like he's constantly testing God to see what he can get away with. He kind of comes around just far enough to, you know, save his bacon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's not getting the message.
Yeah. Wow. So is there, listening to you guys, is there like a plot and a subplot going on here? I didn't think about that before, but as you were describing, he's getting all these chances, but he's missing them. I think, listening to you, he thinks there's one thing happening.
Yeah, he's the main character. To me, he's the plot. He doesn't think that's the plot.
Ah,
To me, he's the plot. I think God's trying to straighten him out,
wow.
and I don't know if he does.
Okay, this could get really interesting. If he's the plot and everything else is the subplot, wow. Hey, how does that change this? We got to chase this down for a little bit and explore this. If he's the plot and this interaction between him and God is the main deal and everything else is just the window dressing, how does that change this?
Well, that's how God cares about the one.
There you go.
And he cares about him too.
Every son.
He's gonna use him for that, but he's very interested in saving his heart too. Saving Jonah, so from his own hurt that is going through.
Yeah, all his stuff. Wow. Could that be?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Why do you say it? Tell me more.
I completely agree with that, and it's the never-ending, unyielding pursuit of God's love for you. You know, that's a perfect analogy right there, coming after the one. And if you think about it, like how many times did God have an opportunity to put Jonah down, grant his wish? You know, even in the defiance, you know, it makes perfect sense what you said about, yeah, he's it. God knew what was going to happen in Nineveh. He knew he was going to spare them. He knew he was going to show mercy. He sent the storm. He knew he was going to save those folks. And it's all about Jonah. It's all about Jonah's heart.
So, so really? I mean, could this be about this stubborn, prideful, arrogant, angry, I want to die, non-merciful, non-compassionate, all of these words you guys read that have been so accurate, could this really be about him getting another chance?
Human nature also.
Human nature?
Yes.
Let's just keep it about Jonah.
Okay?
You're making me nervous. No, that's good. My mind's racing, trying to keep up with you. God really do all of that to get one guy's attention?
It's like the one lost sheep.
Okay, let's work towards the end of that. He goes out east, as you said. I like that you added, Anthony, that he was running away again. Knows what's going to happen there. I keep going back to what else did he not do? He gave the message. He shouted the message. Did he stay and try to talk to anybody? Compel them? Urge them? No? Nothing? No mercy there? So he runs out here. It's hot. He makes a shelter. God makes a leafy vine grow up over him. Must have been fast. And he was very happy about the plant. And then came my hero. I love him. The worm. Yeah, the worm. Was the worm obedient?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Survival.
Eat the plant. Chew through the stem. It did. And then, somebody said it earlier, a scorching east wind comes. And how does he feel? What does he say? What do we hear him say again?
He wants to die.
He wants to die. Did anybody keep track how many times he said that?
Oh my gosh.
Couple.
2 minutes.
I think 2 or 3. 2, 3, 4.
4 times. 2 times he says it twice.
Um,
Because this time he says, dying would be better than living like this. And God asked him, do you have any right to be angry about the plant? And his answer, angry enough to die. What is that? What in the world? I want to get a psychiatrist and just say,
I was going to say, who hurt Jonah? I was thinking in my head.
Because he's got an anger management issue.
Ay. Yeah. So 4 times now he said, everyone died. Well, we didn't even count the whole ship thing and whatever's going on there, but just here. And God asked the question again, do you have any right to be angry about the plant? Yes, angry enough to die. So, when the first time God asked him, do you have any right to be angry about me changing my mind? Did Jonah answer him that time?
Not directly.
Yeah, not directly. He didn't. He left and he went out there. So God asked him twice, do you have any right? And in Jonah's mind, what's going on? What's his answer, basically?
That he has the right to.
He has the right to. Okay. Give me some more words. A guy that could say to God, when he's asked, do you have a right to be angry? And his answer is yes.
It was justified
Justified.
in some way.
Okay.
Not sure how, but it goes back to what Joanne was saying. Somebody wronged him at some point.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Somebody hurt him, somebody wronged him, something.
Something bad happened to him at some point in his life.
Mm.
To be so angry and hateful.
Okay. Okay.
It's extremely disrespectful.
Ah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, let's remind ourselves. Who's he talking to?
Yeah.
Extremely disrespectful, talking to God. He became a mouthpiece of God. I love that you said that. And yet, extremely disrespectful. Hmm. And God ends it. He wraps it up. You didn't do anything for this plant. It came quickly and it died quickly. But Nineveh is 120,000 people living in spiritual darkness, not to mention all the animals. Shouldn't I be concerned about such a great city? He just said, we don't know. We don't know. It fades to black. The story ends. Why do you think God did that? It was his choice. Make a suggestion. It was his choice. So why?
To end it that way, you mean?
Yeah. Why didn't we get, like Mark was saying earlier, I wish we had more to the story. What happened to this guy? What did he do?
So there is no more to the story.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
So it truly fades to black.
Yeah, it really does. That's the end of the
Maybe
book.
he really needs you to think about it and use your brain, like think like that could be you. You know? And so you need to everybody thinks differently, so everybody's gonna have their own opinion of what that looks like for them. But that could be any of us in the room right now.
It's the cycle of human will versus yielding to God's will. Just this constant storm within us, trying to figure out what our purpose is according to God's will.
And there is no other place in the Bible that makes reference to it, is there?
It's mentioned in the New Testament when they talk about Jesus, that just as Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights, so the Son of Man will be. That's it.
I mean, he doesn't give you all the answers
That's right.
in every story.
True.
Yeah,
So,
we don't have answers to every story.
right.
This one seems kind of big.
I mean, it does.
I mean, the way he was going, it probably took a while for him to come around.
Okay. Could be a while for him to come around.
Or maybe the answer was at the end of the story. And it was like, should I not care about Nineveh? Because he's already talked about like this one sheep and how he would go after this one. But maybe now he's talking about all the 99. Like how I should still care for the 99 as well as the one.
Yeah, I like that. I didn't see this coming, but the way you guys have put this together, and then a few of you have mentioned the one sheep, it's making sense, but I never thought about Jonah being that one that God was going for. Like, maybe if I were God, good thing I'm not, I might have picked a prophet that was a little more congenial. That, maybe let's send that guy, because I think he'll do a good job. Something just occurred to me that's not in this story, so you guys help me. You're all very intelligent, obviously. Can you think of others in the Old Testament, or New, I guess, but the Old Testament is what I was thinking of, who have pleaded on behalf of other people? Moses, okay. A few times, right?
Moses was reluctant,
Yeah,
with his mission.
okay.
He tried to say, I'm not.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
yeah. But God wanted him to anyhow.
yes,
And did he?
he did.
Yeah, he did. Okay. And then he pleaded for the people. When the people got stubborn, he pleaded for them. Anybody else come to mind?
Abraham? Is it Abraham?
Okay, Abraham? Yeah. He did. Before Sodom and Gomorrah?
Yeah.
He and God had a conversation.
That
Little-
that's,
Little different than Jonah's conversation.
he's trying to save as many as he could.
Yeah. Remember he said at that time, if there's only 50 righteous that can be found,
Yes.
will you not destroy the city? Okay, Abraham, for the sake of 50. Okay. God, wait, what if there's only 40? Okay, Abraham, for the sake of 40, I want to. Well, okay, since I went this far, what's he do? Where does he stop? You remember? 10, yeah. Okay, God, can I ask you this one more time? What if you only find 10 righteous? Okay, Abraham. I'm getting chills. Was any of that in Jonah?
There's no bargaining with God.
No bargaining. And what's the value? How many? And as you were saying earlier, horrific. And when we see pictures now of war and things going on around our world that is happening right now, and they put a warning up before they even show you anything, and they don't show you much of anything. Some of these scenes may disturb sensitive viewers. Well, yeah,
Should.
they should. Yeah. And with Jonah, it wasn't there.
It didn't faze him.
Didn't faze him. Oh my goodness.
Do we think Jonah changed?
I don't know. What do you think, Kim? Did Jonah change?
I'd like to think that he did, but I don't think he did.
I think he needed a strong community of faith to
Yeah.
support him.
Ah, that's interesting. Wow, I hadn't thought about that either. Maybe he did. You'd like to think he did, but you don't think he really did. But maybe with a strong community of faith around him, that might make a difference.
Maybe if he had us telling him.
If he had this group.
Give me some grace.
If he had this group. Okay. Okay, so I kind of am afraid to do this, but you brought it up earlier. So, well, you did too. What if it is us? What if this ending, this fade to black ending, was to get us to go, is that me?
Self-reflection is the key to repentance.
Say that one more time.
Self-reflection is the key to repentance and to have a closer relationship with God.
Wow. Is that easy?
No.
Is it comfortable?
No.
Do we do it every day?
No.
Do we do it often?
Probably not.
We won't ask about when the last time was. We'll just skip that. Self-reflection is the key to repentance. Did we even see that with Jonah? No. Didn't seem like he got there. Let me ask you this question to try to weigh this out a little bit more. Jonah didn't like the Ninevites. They had conquered everybody, basically. They definitely conquered his people and his country. So he didn't like them. So in short, if you're writing the synopsis of what this movie is, God sends a man to his enemies, to the people he doesn't like. Do we have people we don't like?
We have enemies.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the $64,000 question, if God sent a message to you to say, I want you to go to them, how would you feel?
Scared.
How's it?
Hesitant.
Hesitant, uncomfortable.
Almost like the suicide mission.
Oh, ouch, like a suicide mission. Hello.
If you're being sent to your enemies to give a message that, hey, you guys need to behave, or the city's going to be gone, that's not going to, you
Wow.
can't expect that that's going to be received well.
Wow.
No, but I think this is one of the most encouraging parts of the story for me personally, because if God could use someone like Jonah to reach 120,000 people, you know, someone he didn't even care about, it was like, well, then what can he do through me?
Wow. Wow. I feel like there's more on the other side of that. He used him who didn't even care about 120,000, so push that sentence out a little bit more.
So for me to be able to share with the people that I know, because I don't consider my neighbors my enemies. you
Okay,
know?
okay.
So
Okay.
they're the ones I'm trying to reach.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm thinking
Thanks, Mark.
Russia.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm not thinking like maybe.
Kim, go to Russia.
Yeah, really. It's a
You know-
suicide mission.
I really think though in this political atmosphere that we have right now,
Yeah.
I'd see that more of that than anything else, because it's them against us, you know? And they would be the hardest people for me to have to witness to. People that are just really, really way out there on the left side, you know, because they just basically stand for everything that I don't. But they're the hardest people to reach, but you have to realize that Jesus died for them too. So.
But they hate you. They're trying to kill you. Suicide mission. Is that okay?
They did the same thing for Jesus.
Well, now you gotta go make it all spiritual. But yeah, that makes sense.
The way you described what, how he might be thinking of that these were his enemies, I almost have a little bit of empathy for him.
Okay, okay.
I kind of do.
Yeah.
Because, if I was asked to go to Russia
Yeah.
and do something similar, I truly feel that I would not come out of that alive.
Yeah.
So.
But earlier we said, like, Jonah maybe had this attitude of, I'm better off with God.
He had a stronger faith than I did.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I can go with
I just
that.
have to
Yeah, I can go with that.
I
But one of his strongest things though was he didn't want them to be saved.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's not be what we would.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not,
No, that's true.
Yeah.
it's not about
That's
him
a good
dying
point.
or not.
Yes.
It's like God telling you to help save your enemy.
Yeah.
It's not about your enemy actually hurting you. It's like you are so not in connection with that person that you almost can't see that they are also son of God, child of God, creation. And if they know the gospel, they might be saved too.
Yeah.
And we can both go to the same place, which sometimes you don't. If you're honest with yourself and someone hurt you really bad, you're like, man, I want them to suffer. I want them to not be forgiven because
Wow.
they hurt me.
Wow.
So it's almost like it goes to that place more than I think. Of course, if you go to Russia, it's a very broad thing because you're probably gonna get cute there. But it's not a day-to-day thing. Someone that was close to you once and now it's not, and
Yeah.
hurt you really bad.
Wow.
And you're like, I'm not gonna preach to that person. Because then they get the same grace, they get the same mercy, they get the same forgiveness, they get the same thing that I got. And then your selfishness comes in.
How do you live out your faith?
Yeah. So
Wow.
it is hard But it's a daily, that's why it is in the Bible, love your enemies, pray for them. Because it is a hard thing to do. If it was easy, it wasn't going to be there for us to purposely do it. Like with our conscience, not with our feelings. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I had to do that because that's the right thing to do.
It's also a call for obedience.
For obedience, what he tells us to do.
And I kind of wonder how they knew to pray to him, because
Mm.
in his message it was like, in 40 days you're going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
He didn't say repent. He didn't say pray. He didn't say fast. So I wonder how they knew
Mm.
to do those things.
That's it.
That is a good
I
question.
didn't know either, but earlier Cliff said something about, help me out.
They,
Well,
they heard stories.
they heard
about
stories.
them,
Yeah.
about them.
The
They
Hebrew
heard
God and
stories.
How they worshipped. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they were trying to do what they heard
Just
about.
emulate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in other Bible stories, we run into that people have heard about that God, that
Yeah.
Hebrew God, and the things he has done. But that's a great point there. How'd they know that?
Yeah.
So I'm just realizing something else with that, Anthony. Knowing that and choosing to do evil was a pretty solid choice. So when they hear about destruction, they go, oh, well, we know what we should do. Wow.
But it actually took some real faith, I guess, right? Because they could be just like, this guy's not going to forgive us for being all this time against him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have to trust.
They did have to have something there. Okay, this guy is so merciful that he might be merciful towards us.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up with that. The Hollywood ending. Okay? Because this is feeling pretty heavy so far. For like an hour and a half. There's no so, yeah. We need some help. It goes on just a little bit more. 120,000 people are celebrating now because they're not destroyed. We don't know because it faded to black. But what could this guy have done with that kind of result? Revival happened. Nineveh just got saved. He's typing his newsletter to his supporters. Hey, guess what? I preached 8 words, 120,000 people got saved. Beat that. I don't know.
That's a lot of witnesses.
That's a lot of witnesses. You said that earlier about the guys on the ship, and you did too. Now they're witnesses. Now there's 120,000 witnesses. Because one guy said, okay, I don't even like it, but I'll finally be obedient. So as you're saying, you have a different motivation than he did. So what could God do if he said, come, go to Russia? You said God told you to be here. I don't know. But I mean, none of us ever knows what the next part of the story is or what the end of the story is going to be. It's something that just popped back in my mind from years ago. I did youth ministry for 18 years, and I remember at one point a story of a young guy who became a Christian, and he was kind of shy but determined, and he learned about prayer walking. And there was a large, strong satanic club in his school, and he couldn't really do anything to that. It wasn't working. So he just started walking and praying around the school by himself, walking and praying around the school and making that a daily practice.
That's brave. That's really
Well, I don't even know that people knew what he was doing, but the leader of that group came and met him one day and said, "What are you doing? You've got to tell me what's going on, because I have been so upset inside and so disturbed inside. Who are you? What are you doing?" He got to lead him to Christ and a bunch of others. So what could the end of the story be, Mark? I don't know. It could be really big. Like y'all aren't building near enough. I don't know. 12 services a weekend? I don't know. I'm just stupid. Don't pay attention to me. I don't know. But if we have a little compassion, God has immense. Yeah.
With your story and Jonah's story, it's not even like you have to preach a whole, be the smartest person, or,
Yeah.
It can be the simple gospel, or just the simple compassion, the simple, and
Yeah.
or the prayer, which is powerful, and sometimes forget, that we can just not just be praying, because it's actually the first thing you should be doing, but like that guy just prayed, and God worked on the other person's heart.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
his prayer.
Could be. It might not be Kim, go to Russia. It might be Kim, pray for Russia.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Already
Exactly.
do.
I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what it would be. How did this story start? The Lord sent a message to a person. Does he still do that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah? Oh, every head is going. Okay. Has he sent one to you? Would you be open if he did?
What was that?
Would you be open if he did send you a message?
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's to them? Whoever? Okay.
It's a deep breath on that one, for sure. But on this story of Jonah, it's like the fade to black ending. Just for me personally, it's God's will. At the end of the day, it was God's will. The saving of Nineveh, the interactions with Jonah, the saving of Noah. It was all His will, and His will prevail, right? Under all circumstances.
Yeah.
There's a lesson in just that alone. You can fight me, you cannot listen to me, you can turn your back to me.
Yeah.
You turn around, I'm going to be there. I think that's, at least for me, that's
Cool.
what I
Yeah.
It's reassuring.
Thanks, Cliff.
hear. Will. Yes.
This time slipped by really fast. Like, I just peeked to see what time it was. I'm like, oh my gosh, how'd that happen? So, thank you very, very much for a fascinating discussion that went in like some places I didn't even think of. I love doing this because of that. We get so much. So, can we do this to wrap up? And then I'm going to tell you just a tiny bit more. Can you give me just like a sentence or two of something that you learned or appreciated about doing this way? Maybe an insight? Or,
I get a lot out of the discussion aspect of it. That's where I think the interaction with other people's perspectives gets you thinking in a direction you normally wouldn't.
I think it brings the Bible more personalized when you can talk about it and apply it to your own life
Yeah.
with other people.
Thanks, Deb.
I love trying to put yourself in the position of where people were at and what they were thinking and what their challenges were and
Right.
what was at stake. And it just, it humanizes it
Mm-hmm.
and kind of personalizes it because we can all relate to those emotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like with telling a story, it's like us telling our story, like when you tell your life story or something.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're telling a story, it's almost like quick to relate when you're reading. At least when I'm reading, I have to stop sometimes, like, wait, what I just read?
Mm-hmm.
And go back to make sure what I'm reading. And a story is more like, oh, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I'm listening, and then we discuss, and it becomes like
Mm-hmm.
a story telling, everyone's telling something.
Yeah. Hearing different perspectives.
Yeah.
Anthony's twist on, how the people of Nineveh may have felt, and just getting everybody's opinion really makes you start thinking in a different way than you might not have thought about on your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
It solidifies the messages too a bit more. It kind of it reinforces them. We may not know exactly what those messages, what somebody was supposed to do with those messages, but I think it really was very helpful to me to hear about God's grace and forgiveness, and just in so many other aspects of that story. It was really, really nice.
Good, good. How would you finish a sentence? Tonight I learned.
More than I did before.
I was going to say that tonight I learned that the storms in my life might be God redirecting me to where He wanted it to be in the first place.
So it's like gentle nudging that you don't really realize is there until all of a sudden you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, whoa, how did I get here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Of course, we all know that we're going to face the storms, but we know that God is with us through them, and that calm will become what we do with that. How we witness to others on how God saved us.
Mm-hmm.
Help us teach others how God can save them too.
Yeah, good.
I think it was helpful too to learn that just to see how God was with him no matter what was going on in his life. Good times and bad times. Because I think sometimes, like, we all know, the minute something bad happens, you run straight to God. But when your life is going really smooth, you tend to sort of just coast. And you don't really think about that. And so sometimes a story like this, really gets you thinking about, okay, well, the times when I'm coasting is when I really need to be reaching out to God.
Mm. Wow, good.
I learned a lot about Jonah and how to really try to avoid being anything like him.
Yes.
Example.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
And he was a prophet.
Yeah, and he was a prophet. Oh.
He had some redeeming qualities that were not expressed.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's fair to say I learned a new a way to do a deep dive into scripture. Never done this.
This was really fun.
This,
Yeah, it was
before.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
On the spiritual side, there's no question. It's already been said. And two things. One is just a beautiful reminder of God's grace and that He is always after us.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what we do, where we go, where we've been. And on the other side of that, there's nothing I can do with my pride, arrogance, my own will that is going to outdo or overdo His will.
Mm.
So it's just a good reminder.
Wow.
It's the story.
Wow. Good, good. Excellent. Well, again, thank you. For me, one thing, I told you, I think there's several things that you guys brought up. I thought, oh, I hadn't thought about that, or that, or that. But the whole plot and subplot, and which one is it actually? Now I don't know. Maybe what I thought it was about saving Nineveh, it wasn't. It was about getting to that one stubborn, prideful, arrogant, disobedient. Ouch. Yeah. So thank you. Really good.